Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about Season 2, Episode 10 of Psych. I am joined here with my co-host.
Hi, I'm Barb.
And I'm Matthew. And if you're joining the show, please remember to like and subscribe and to share it with your friends. We've gotten tons of new downloads, so you guys must be doing it. At least some of you are. So, yeah, definitely share it if you like it. We also got to give a shout out to the official Psych Fanatics of Facebook group and our Psych subreddit. Both of those are very large groups full of psychos, and we are so thankful to have them. They really helped us get the podcast off the ground, and we appreciate you guys for coming back and sharing it on there, and giving us likes and getting in on the polls that we post about the episodes. So thank you for that. And if you haven't already checked out our YouTube channel, we have recently posted a video of us watching and reviewing the Psych 3 This Is Gus trailer. Now, this is like a 2-week time difference from when we did release that and when this episode's coming out. But regardless, if you haven't seen it and you're interested in our reactions on the trailer, we have an actual video up where you can see us watch it and us talk about it and things we're excited for, etc. So if you guys are interested, check that out. The links are going to be in the description, only on YouTube.
And in other news, it is official. Corbin Bernsen has signed on to reprise his role as Arnie Becker in the reboot of LA Law. So as of now, there's only one episode, but which I'm sure will be the pilot. We'll give you more information as we see it. But that was kind of exciting because that was huge for him in the 80s. And the fact that they're kind of bringing it back is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have no idea what the show is, but I believe you.
A soap opera kind of show set in a law firm in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Anything like Suits? Or not quite the
No,
same
think a
vibe?
little more like 80s soap opera. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with the reboot.
Sure.
They could give it a whole different feel, which would be kind of refreshing. I mean, like it would be cool to see it maybe a little bit more of a Suits kind of thing, but there was like humor in it a little bit too. It wasn't, you know,
Mm,
it
I
wasn't
really
quite as
enjoyed Suits.
serious maybe as Suits, but
I wish they gave Dulé a little bit more screen time on Suits. They kind of just had him as like a
mm.
side character. I really wish they would have got him on there. But yeah, that's a different topic. To anybody who's new and this is your first time hearing an episode of our podcast, well, thanks for listening first. But also, this is the part where we get into the actual episode that we're going to talk about today. We go through the stats, we do a synopsis, and then we go through it in a chronological order and point out things that we found interesting or funny that are worth talking about.
Sort of guide people through the episode.
Right. And today we're going to be talking about episode 10 of season 2. It's called Gus's Dad May Have Killed an Old Guy. And the original air date was December 7th of 2007. So it lined up with the Christmas theme.
Nice.
Unfortunately, we were not able to do that, but it is what it is.
But well, let me just add that we're recording this today, and tomorrow is the day that begins Hallmark Christmas movies for the whole season, like 24/7. So it is feeling like the season for me. I don't know about all of you. I mean, I'm sure there's some other Hallmark movie fans out there, but I really like I'm starting to feel like I want to decorate my house like now. But
Yeah, it's
I'm
definitely the
gonna
season
hold
to
off.
cancel your cable. All right. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna hold off, but it's feeling a little Christmassy to me. So this was a nice introduction to the Christmas season for me. But anyway, let's talk about this episode's writers and director. The writers for this one were Steve Franks and Saladin K. Patterson. And just a side note about Saladin, he is the new showrunner and co-creator of the rebooted Wonder Years with Dule Hill starring in it. It's getting great ratings. They're doing really well, but that's who co-wrote this episode with Steve Franks. The director of this episode was Oz Scott. And let's talk about him for just a minute. He has a long list of directing credits dating back to 1981. Right out of the gate, he directed a Richard Pryor movie called Bustin' Loose. Matthew, for you and maybe some other younger people out there, Richard Pryor was a really famous comedian.
Oh my gosh, I love stand up. I know who Richard Pryor is. Jesus.
Okay, well, I would hope that you would, but I question it sometimes with you. Anyway, he
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
began after that he began directing a bunch of TV shows. Give Me a Break, Hill Street Blues, Alice, The Jeffersons, 227, The Cosby Show, L.A. Law, Party of Five, Diagnosis Murder, Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman, Ally McBeal, Jag, Boston Legal, NCIS, CSI New York, Blue Bloods, Criminal Minds, and SWAT. This is the only episode of Psych that he's directed. And I will say that out of, like, I literally just picked a handful out of the very long list of directing credits that he has. So he's done quite a bit. Now, the next thing we're going to go over is the synopsis for this episode, and I had to laugh this week because usually, just to give you guys some insight, usually I'll write one and Matthew will write one, and this week it was so strange. Like, the difference in our take on what this episode was about at the core was so different that it made me laugh, and we decided we're going to read both of them. So, Matthew, what was your synopsis for this episode?
So here's mine. It's Christmas time in Santa Barbara, and to celebrate, Sean and Gus's families come together. While out caroling, one of Gus's neighbors is found dead. Through a strange turn of events, Gus's parents are arrested for the crime, and the guys need to figure out what happened in time to get everyone home for Christmas.
Okay, now my synopsis reads like this. It's Christmas and time for family. Sean learns that Gus's parents don't care much for him, and he gets the perfect opportunity to change their minds when Gus's parents are arrested for killing a neighbor. Sean and Gus are on the case to free them and solve it. So, okay, so you can see there is a vast difference there, because what I took mainly from the episode is that Sean is all to pieces that Gus's parents thought he was such a bad influence.
See, so when you read it, I think it clicked for me what I think it might be, and I feel like I took it from the perspective of Gus, and you took it from the perspective of Sean. Because all Sean cares about is getting his parents to like him, and all Gus cares about is
Yeah.
getting his parents out of jail.
Well, okay, but Gus also wants to, because even in the beginning, where he says, yeah, it would get them off of, if you solve the case, it'll get them off my back about having this business with you. He doesn't like it either that they keep coming down on him about being in business with Sean because they don't like Sean. So it was, I don't know. It's funny though, how the different perspectives. It really stood out in this one. Usually our synopsis is pretty similar.
Mhm.
And this time it was totally different eyes looking at it. So
Yeah. Yep.
anyway.
No, that is an interesting one, especially with this one in particular, where both are technically correct, but one of them is more of the actual storyline. I'm curious what it said on IMDb.
Well, let me get it for you.
I have it right here, actually, I
You
think.
do? Okay,
Yes, I
okay.
do. I hear it is.
All right.
Gus's dad is accused of murdering the meanest man in the neighborhood, and he enlists Sean's help to clear him. Wow, IMDb needs to hire us because that was nonsense.
That was weak
That was
sauce, as
weak.
you would put it.
Did they even watch the episode? That's what I want to know.
Wow. Wow, lame.
But yeah. All right.
Lame.
So, I don't know, but which one do you guys think was more?
Yeah.
Which one was more on
Well,
point?
I feel like it's gonna be so subjective. I mean, people definitely
Yeah,
have their I feel like what happened in our synopsis there is that I look at it from an emotional standpoint and you look at it from a factual standpoint.
possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
All right, so starting on our breakdown, we have our flashback scene, and this one is going back to Sean and Gus, and we get our introduction to Mr. Fuller. He is the grumpy old man that lives next door, and he doesn't like people on his property.
Or for kids to put balls in his yard because he was literally not happy. And I really like this scene because they looked so cute. They were both leaning over the fence and they just didn't want to go over to get it. And
Hmm.
Sean pushes Gus over the fence and poor thing can't get out. He can't get out of there.
I loved the dialogue here because Sean pushes Gus over the fence. We hear a thud as Gus lands, presumably on his hands or head, because we saw his feet like in the air as he went over. And then Sean yells out, "Is the ball all right?"
Like, he
Sean
doesn't
then
care if
hears
Gus is
Mr.
okay.
Fuller. He then hears Mr. Fuller, "Get off my yard!" And then he takes off, leaving Gus behind, which I felt was a little out of character. I mean, maybe you mock it up to like immaturity or something, but I definitely don't think that's how he would do it now.
I don't know. I don't know. I think if Sean wants to get away, he's gonna get away. Poor
Sean, you
Gus,
better
I
not leave
think.
me in this yard.
Gus has been put in some really bad situations by Sean, so I don't
Hmm.
know if this is any different. I don't know. He
Remember
just
the bank
left him
heist
there,
one?
though.
My friend's
Yeah.
in there. My best friend's in there. He's coming in.
Uh, I
I
don't
don't see.
know.
I don't know. I mean, if you want to if you want to like chalk it up to just young age,
Youth.
sure. But I do feel like it's a little out of character for him to not like make some sort of distraction or jump over
Yeah.
after him, something like that.
I don't know. You think he would have tried to help him out. But anyway,
Yeah.
okay. So next scene, we're at the station and Sean is going around like Santa giving out presents to people. I I loved this scene, Matt.
Well, no, it was awesome.
He gives he gives McNabb a Daisy Red Ryder BB gun and it like about makes him cry. And then Gus says, like, how did you know? And he said, the room I take naps in is right next to where they do the psych evals.
Hmm.
And
And he's
so,
just listening,
yes,
just listening for like intel.
and he gives Lassie a snow globe, a psych snow globe at that. And you can see, like, Lassie is physically, like, he's having a
Oh,
reaction
he's
to it.
freaked out. Yeah.
And turns out they give him nightmares about being trapped in a clear ball with snow that burns his skin off.
Yeah. It's a very strange. I had that in there. I had that note too, and it's a very strange thing. Like it's a very weird thing to be afraid of. But on the other hand, that snow globe he gave him was dope.
It was, but I would like to
I
have
loved
one.
the snow globe. I know. I want one too. It looks
Can we
awesome.
can we please take a second too to talk about Gus's face after that happened? Because because this makes me laugh just thinking about it. Because Gus thought that was really funny, like the how disturbed Lassie got, and he was just about laughing afterward. His face was like, yeah, that was good. Like it was funny. If you didn't notice it, I noticed it. It might have been where I was pausing to make my notes, but man, Gus got a kick out of that. He thought that was funny. Anyway,
I didn't notice that.
yeah, his reaction to it was so good. But then Sean gives Jules. I wasn't familiar with this thing. If it was ever a thing, I don't know. But it was a Mr. Mittens, like this cat,
Yeah,
and
it looked
she
like some kind of
loved
Beanie
it.
Baby thing.
Yeah, it was weird. It was in like a package with it was very weird, but she loved it. If anyone knows what that really is about, like
I did see Gus's face just now.
you did, right? It's
He does
funny.
turn around. He's like,
He's
yeah,
like,
like that
yeah.
went good.
He was
um,
like proud of Sean for identifying that and doing something about it. It was funny.
so with the Mr. Mittens thing, um,
Mhm.
I think that this was a. He says Mr. Mittens says it felt just like going to sleep, and if you look at the thing, it says it's a cat toy. I think that this is like a toy
Yeah, yeah,
that she
yeah.
had for her like pet cat, and like that her cat had whenever it died.
Oh,
And this
okay.
is like a nice thing. And then he said like the cat said it felt just like going to sleep, like no pain. So I don't think that the toy was
Oh,
the
it was
toy.
more
I think it was
about
a
the
cat toy
cat.
that like she had for her cat when her cat died when she was a kid.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I
That was one of
I
those things that
yeah.
I didn't look too closely at before, like in the past viewings.
Yeah.
And then that actually happened a couple times here where I was like, wait, what exactly did he say? And I turned on subtitles so I could like read the text,
Mhm.
and it was a little bit different than what I thought. Mhm.
Yeah, that one went right over me. I didn't identify that at all.
So, in this scene, after Sean gives Juliet the gift, I did like how like Juliet has her reaction to it, and she's very happy, almost to little tears. And Gus is like, "Well, this is from both of us," and Sean cuts him off, and he's like, "This is a very special gift, just for me. Don't
Mhm.
appropriate."
Poor
Don't appropriate, Gus. And
poor
Gus is like,
Gus.
"Whoa, what just happened?" And
Sean
then,
wants Sean wants all the credit because he loves her.
yep,
He loves her.
they follow her over to her desk, and she starts telling her about her Christmas plans and how all of her family is coming into town.
Mhm.
And Sean jumps in. He's like, "Oh, should I meet them or is it too soon?" And then both Juliet and Gus are like, "Too soon for what?"
It was awful that Gus reacted like that because he knows. He
Yeah,
knows.
does he? I feel like this is something that he hides
That
from
was
him for
not
quite some time.
yeah, it was not okay.
I don't think
She
he
did
told Gus
invite
about the kissing
well, but she
last
did
episode.
yeah, but Gus knows how he feels about her. But she did invite them over, and they say, "You know what? We can't because we've been invited to Gus's family's house for Christmas." So they encourage her to invite Lassie.
Mhm.
And the next scene, you look over at Lassie and he is at his desk and there's a ton of snow globes all over his desk. And
And
he's like, "Who keeps telling people to give me snow globes for Christmas?"
he looks paranoid.
God is
He
so
looks like a
evil
crazy
there.
person who feels like people are all taking his picture or something. It's like, "Who keeps telling people I want snow globes for Christmas?"
And my note says Sean is evil, LOL.
If you look at the guy in the background, he's reading a file like behind his desk, and he looks up whenever Lassie says that, and then he kind of like giggles. He's like, like he gets caught. I don't know if he let it slip or if he was supposed to do that. Like hinting that I'm curious if it was something that Sean did sincerely. Like if everybody else was trying to make him uncomfortable, or if they all
Mhm.
thought that it was something he liked.
I don't know, but either way, it was
Also,
funny.
there was, some, like, really weird thing with, the it's the X-ray thing on, um, Amazon Prime. There's some weird, like, trivia thing about how Corbin, Bernsen owns one of the
Oh,
largest
yes,
collections of
he
snow
has
globes,
no, no,
like
no, he has
7,000 pieces.
yeah, he has thousands. You can actually see him talk about it. He does like a whole
That's real.
tour of yes, that's very real. He collects them from everywhere.
That's crazy. Like, alright,
He
I mean,
has thousands, thousands, that he's got
what we
rooms of
know
them.
like, what he's got rooms of them, that's so
Rooms
nuts.
of them.
We
I'm
know
gonna
that he has at least $7,000 worth of snow globes, is what I hear, and that's
oh,
at
no, no, no.
least.
No, yeah,
That's
snow
at
globes don't just
least.
cost $1. He has big snow globes.
Right.
Okay. Okay, look, what we're gonna do is we're gonna find a picture of that and we'll post it. Okay?
Yeah, because that's nutty. I wasn't even sure if that was real. I thought that might be like a some kinda typo or something, but
No, he's
god, the
done
rooms in them
interviews about it.
alone.
He's done interviews about it. He collects them from everywhere. Um,
This is my snow globe room, and I'm
well,
sure he now gets them from fans.
I'm sure that he does, but, like, there are walls, and the on the walls, it says, like, "Let it snow." This, Matthew, is when can you s well, it's probably not a good visual,
I
but
I can I can get the
uh,
idea, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, that's one of the walls of them. It's insane. He has a dedicated that's probably a better picture, but we'll post it. We'll post it, but it's
Wow.
yeah, he does have a ton of snow globes, but
Hmm,
alright, so, okay, back to the
okay.
episode, we are at 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Sean and Gus are walking, like, getting ready to leave the station, and Sean is telling Gus he's really surprised. In fact, he can count on a shop teacher's one hand how many times they've been invited to Gus's family's house, but he thinks it's because they don't like Henry. And Gus is trying so hard to be subtle and tell him that it's about Sean, it's not about Henry, and finally he catches on. I was like, "Oh, please, Sean, catch on to this." When he was
Mhm,
describing this, I'm like, "Please catch on." But his parents apparently have always thought that Sean was a bad influence. So Sean in that moment decides he's gonna take them on a walk down memory lane to show them that he's been a positive influence.
mhm.
It goes horribly wrong, as you can imagine, but
Yep. One some of the things that Sean has been the cause of for Gus is, he got his first bee, he broke his first curfew, and he accidentally killed the state bird. And
What was it he said about the state park? His
he's like, "How
tolerance
are
for
you
alcohol
supposed to
was
know he
low?
couldn't hold his liquid? He couldn't hold
His
his liquor?"
liquor.
Yeah.
Oh my
How are we
that's really
supposed to know
not
that he
funny,
couldn't
but
hold his liquor?
it's a
Mhm.
funny comment. Yeah.
Um, yes. So definitely, I can definitely see how Sean was not a good influence on Gus, but he did
Yeah.
probably keep him kind of grounded. I don't know. Thinking about how his life might have been different.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, he would have
I'm
gone
not
to that
sure.
private school, probably. I don't know. He would have gone further in the spelling bee that Sean didn't want him to win.
That's what I was thinking about just now. I'm like, man, I gave you a life, but if you would have won that spelling bee, you would have just kept studying and kept studying and kept
Mhm.
studying. Yeah, I was just thinking of that.
We're at Henry's house. I'm assuming Sean is picking up Henry to go to the Gusters, and Henry's bringing in his Christmas tree. And they have a cool little tradition here about Christmas presents, Matt.
Mhm. I like it, and it definitely is fitting for them. I thought it was a cool little thing to add. Sean and Henry both get each other a gift, and then they have until Christmas Day when they open it to guess what they got each other. And they do their initial thing where they do like the handoff, where they both get to like hold and shake and like smell or whatever they want to do with the box to get the information they need, and then they got to do some like digging to find out what it might be. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's
Sean
a
barely
cool
inspects
little
his
tradition.
whenever Henry
Uh-huh.
gives it to him. He just kind of he touches it like he holds it up in front of him for just a second, and then he's like, "I'm done. That's all I need." He's super cocky about it.
Mhm. Next, we're at Gus's parents' house, sitting down to dinner, and his parents give Gus $100. And they do this every year. I mean, it's clear in this scene that they just do not think that Gus is very successful. They have no idea.
Hold on a second. You're going straight past. This is the first time that we see Gus's family, his mom and his dad,
Right.
and
I'm
not
I'm not going
only
past it.
are we getting them, um, but we get the actors.
Right,
So
but
Gus's
I
dad
have that
is
later
William.
in I have that later in our
You're
80s
talking about
references.
him. You're
Yeah,
talking
well,
about
okay,
him.
so let's just say that we're talking about
Hold
Ernie
on.
Hudson and Felicia Rashad. And
Yes,
we can do
yes.
some more details on them later,
Yeah,
but
we'll do more details on it, but you gotta at
yeah.
least acknowledge that they got two
Yeah.
pretty big people to play Gus's family,
Yes, they
and
did.
I really liked them. I liked them both. I thought that was a good
I did
fit.
too. I did too. I
Plus
liked
the
them
whole
too.
Bud thing
But yeah, that
was
it all
kinda
brings it all
yeah.
together. Yeah.
Mhm.
Brings it all together. It brings it all together. So at this scene, Sean is trying really hard to show he was a good friend. It's not a good thing though. I think you have better um references here of what he says. I will note though that uh, during all of this, he's trying to show he was a good friend. Gus's parents turn everything around, and Henry just wants to eat.
Yeah.
That's all he wants to
Henry,
do.
it just keeps making comments. Anytime somebody else makes a remark that kind of pokes at someone else, he kind of just like lets it go past and moves on. He's like, "Yep,
Mhm.
you know what's better than smelling the food? Eating the food."
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's
Now,
obsessed with that.
what was it that Sean said that he did for Gus as a kid?
Well, one of the things is that he said that I'm responsible for Gus not smoking because I made him smoke a whole pack. And then Gus's dad is like, that's probably what stunted his growth. And then Gus is like, I'm 5'10" and a half. And his dad's like, we hear you, son. We hear you. In a very condescending way. And
Uh-huh.
I love that. Like he really talks down to Gus. He still sees him as like this little child. I
Yeah.
thought it was great. His
Incapable.
mom thought that it was what gave Gus asthma was the smoking. And then Sean turns it around with a happy spin, like, well, his asthma medicine is what first got him interested in pharmaceuticals.
And
Yeah, it was a good little spin.
Sean's dad, Henry's like, let's keep in mind there are a lot of complicated causes for asthma.
He's like,
Let's eat. He's like,
Sean,
all
you're an
he wants to
idiot.
do is eat. All he wants to do.
They're a lot complicated.
It was like that was not it.
Yeah,
There's
that was
more.
good. That was a funny one. Henry just wants food, and I can vibe with him with all that food there. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't think we mentioned it. Gus's dad's name is William, and his mom's name is Winifred, which is a unique name, but
Mm-hmm. It's old
yeah,
school.
it fits. Whenever Gus's mom brings up how they spent so much time together, it's no wonder that Gus isn't married by now. Gus lets it slip out. Trust me, I get mine to his mom, and
Oh
it kind of
God.
brings a silence to the table. And then he's like, "Oh, I mean, I'm just waiting for Mrs. Bright."
Mm-hmm.
I
That's not a good thing to say to your mother.
they just this whole dynamic with his parents I find to be really funny, and in the future even with his sister I think is really funny too. Like
Mhm.
they nailed it and it kind of fits perfectly for him. Also, also another thing with Henry, um, they after they harass Gus about the wife and his job, they also say that he should have a house by now. And Gus is like, "I have time. The market's still cooling off." And then Henry jumps in, "Yeah, so is the food," which I get
He
it.
just
I
wants
get
to
it.
eat.
I totally get it. So yeah.
Okay, at 7 minutes in, everyone is caroling. They go out to do their Christmas caroling in the neighborhood, and most of the people want to skip Old Man Fuller's house. But Sean is like not having that. He says, "Let's go." He's almost very, very childlike when he does it too. He's like practically skipping up the steps. But anyway, when they get up there, they find out like he knocks on the door, nobody answers. And Sean finds out the door's kind of open. So he opens the door, and there they find Mr. Fuller hanging from his staircase.
The one thing I don't get with this scene is who just opened somebody's door. I mean, they didn't hear any yells or anything. Like Sean just like grabs the door and opens up, and much less the person like Mr. Fuller who hates everybody just open up the door and start singing. I
Well,
mean, I would hate that.
one could say that he psychically knew something was wrong.
Maybe
I,
one
yeah.
might say plot armor. But yeah, no.
Mhm,
Nonetheless, though, I like that Sean had a good positive attitude here, and he was really
mhm,
trying to like bring the most out of everybody. So
mhm.
is what it is. But
What
had
I
to be
like,
mentioned, or we weren't doing our job.
what I like, Matt, is the holiday theme song that started right after that scene. It was
Hmm.
so good. It had like stuff replacing the letters, little trees
And
and
custom
snowflakes and
animations,
ornaments.
custom name tags,
It was so
theme song was
good.
different.
It was
Yeah,
so
I
good.
do
Little
love when they do that.
snowflakes falling. It was
Hmm.
so good. I really loved it. It's really putting me, I'm not even
And
joking.
I
When I
love the
was
Christmas
watching that
spirit.
today,
I'm
I
ready
was
for it.
like, Christmas. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm such a dork about that. I mean, really, I
No,
really
I love
love it.
Christmas time too. I'm
Oh,
100% with you there.
it's the best season ever. So anyway, I'm so, so happy about that. And that theme song was just like perfect. It was great. I like when they change the theme song, by the way. It's
Mhm.
fun. It adds an element to the episode.
They
So I
only do it a
do
few
really like
times.
it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
only do it a handful of times, but it's always nice hearing something new like that.
It's impactful when it's rare.
Especially one in particular I really like. But
Yeah, Boys to Men.
yep, that's it. They have
Or
such
I
good
thought you were
voices.
gonna say Dual Spires.
I love Dual Spires, but that one is not quite as good as the Boys to Men theme song.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
Dual Spires. God, I want to watch some Dual Spires.
No, not me. Okay,
Such
at
a
8
good
minutes.
episode. Oh my
No,
god, it's
it's
so
not.
good. There's so much
It's
comedic gold
not.
in
It's
that episode.
boring and creepy. I didn't like
God,
it.
maybe we should make six
Look,
pineapples.
we're not.
Mm.
No. Can we make a negative one then?
But it's so good
It's really
that
not.
I've never I didn't even see Twin Peaks,
Uh-huh.
and I love it so much. They did such a good
Okay.
job like as a, like using it like as an
Okay,
homage
but
to it that
watching
it's so good.
watching this though makes me never want to watch Twin Peaks.
It makes me want to watch Twin Peaks. I
It's
watched
okay, it's the
I started Twin
equivalent.
Peaks and I didn't like it as much. It's not as
Do,
funny.
okay, you know how I feel about like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and how I
Oh,
feel like
you
it's a
mean
form of
your feelings
torture?
on an amazing trilogy that's
You
beloved
know
by
how
so many and is such
you know
deep
how
world
I
building
feel
and
that
lore?
it's that it's a
Yeah.
form of torture, and if anyone needed answers from me, just put me in front of that for, like,
I mean,
what, 12 hours?
technically you are wrong.
I'm really not. It's
It's
terrible.
one of the biggest selling, like, books and
Mm-mm.
franchises of all times.
I'm sorry
Um,
for that. I'm sorry for
so,
that.
I
And
mean,
I'm sorry if I'm offending
you're
anyone, but that's
definitely
the
wrong.
way that makes me feel. I can't
Mhm.
do it. Anyway, we're
Wow.
gonna get back to this episode though, because we are far from
At
those
one
fires.
point, you didn't
But
like Harry Potter either, so
I love Harry Potter. Let's
maybe it's time to,
don't
give it a
no.
second watch and maybe
Absolutely not.
open your mind a little bit and
Absolutely
be
not.
open to new and amazing and exciting things.
Absolutely not. There is no room in my mind for that.
Just saying, just saying.
No, but I love Harry Potter. Anyway, at 8 minutes, 10 seconds in this episode, sorry you guys for getting so off
Yeah,
course there.
sorry, got distracted.
The the cops and everyone else are at Old Man Fuller's house. Lassie is there, no Jules, but Sean notices some things at the scene. So he notices like the food, the TV guide, the shows circled, and all of that. And he really figures out at that point this is a case. This isn't, this is an opportunity to let them know what I'm capable of, and it's not so bad that their son is in business with me. I could solve this case.
Mhm.
It's not a suicide.
Yeah. Yeah, he notices the things and it kind of gives him something to stand on. And whenever he does actually, point it out to the cops, uh, the crime scene, the CSU guys come in and kind of back him up too. And like that, they actually, or Lassiter says that the crime scene guys actually were thinking something's off about this as well. So,
I did think it was cool that they brought that element in. Like that they said, okay, well, you know what? We didn't have to wait until later. No, a lot of times we have to wait until later to find out that Sean was right about something.
mhm,
This time they like right up front gave it to him,
yeah,
which
good
was
old
cool.
California State University. Lassiter called it the CSU, and it stands for Crime Scene Unit. And Gus or Sean didn't know that. So,
Yes.
but Lassiter shows up at Juliet's place and is surrounded by about 20 Scottish people, expecting him to know all of their traditions. And Lassiter looks and feels very uncomfortable and out of place, and I feel for him. Every scene that we get with Lassiter, I feel awkward and uncomfortable this episode. Um,
Okay.
like
Well,
all of
I
them,
thought he
all of
looked
them.
less than excited to be there but I don't know that I felt very uncomfortable for him
And I
yet
felt
because I don't.
uncomfortable the entire time that he was on screen
Wow.
this episode.
I did feel uncomfortable for him when he started, like, when he sat down to do the crafts and, like, he started changing everything in them, telling them, like,
Hmm.
factual information and stuff. These
Then the
kids, I
Wii
mean, then
thing,
I was like,
the
"Really,
snow globe
Lassie?
thing,
You're taking away the magic
the thing
for the
at the
kids."
end with like him being the cool uncle thing. All of it super uncomfortable and awkward. I didn't like it. I didn't like any of it.
Well, okay, so here's where the feeling
I mean,
part
I
comes
liked it, but
in.
I didn't like the way I felt watching it because like it is like an interesting thing to see him as far as character development goes and how he is with other people and but it was uncomfortable.
I don't know. I just kinda thought that he went in there not considering their traditions and didn't know what to do really. But
Yeah.
you could tell that he didn't wanna just go home and be by himself either. Like,
Right.
he was happy to be there, but he doesn't know how to be social. He
Hmm.
really just doesn't know how. His personality does not lend itself to group functions. It just really, really doesn't. Um Okay, after that scene, we're at 12 minutes 45 seconds. Sean and Gus's parents arrive at the station to give their statements. And when they walk in, automatically, Lassie starts telling them things that they found in Gus's dad's garage, like the weed killer that was used to kill Mr. Fuller.
Hmm.
And so all of this evidence points to Gus as being the killer, or Gus's dad being the killer, and they arrest him right there. That scene was so sad. It was, excuse
It
me,
was fast. It was
it was
abrupt.
quick. It was
Hmm.
like in 2 minutes, here's the evidence, we're arresting you. I don't know. I
Although
don't
if
know.
you do notice, Lassie, they do have the wherewithal to keep things subtle.
Hmm.
Like he brings them in and he is very quiet about it until they sit down at the table and he like, subtly closes the doors and they're not in an interrogation room, but they're in an interrogation room. and he starts
Yeah.
questioning them in there, and you kind of see that a couple times in this episode.
Which is out of character for Lassie to be,
But they're part of the
um
team. Sean and Gus are part of the team, and
right,
it's
but
got to be a little more delicate.
it's nice to see that.
Hmm.
Because usually Lassie's very, like, "Get in the interrogation room,"
Do
It's
you
nicer.
think that he thought that they did it, or that they even might have done it?
That Lassie thought that? Sure, because I
Did
think
he
Lassie
really consider
is
them to be suspects? Is what I guess what I'm asking,
I
or
think
is he
so.
just doing what he is required to do, and because he knows that he can't treat people differently because he knows
Well,
that?
I didn't see any, like, upset in him. Like, he
Hmm.
never said anything like, "I'm really sorry, Buster," or, like, I mean,
And even towards the end,
yeah.
he's like, "You can let them know. We'll let them go." Like he didn't seem to have any sort of like
There was no
anger or
attachment.
right. Like he wasn't really like thinking it was
Mhm.
them and admitting he was wrong or anything like that.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Lassie's just like hardcore cop and he's just following the evidence. And so at that point, when they're here, he just knew, okay, this is the evidence we have. We
Hmm.
found this in this home. This is the evidence. Even though it could have been anything because he was a neighbor, he could have used any of their stuff. I still think that he's just following the evidence at this point and he's not emotionally feeling any sort of way about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
I don't know.
understand.
So now we're at 14 minutes and 45 seconds. Henry has invited Sean and Gus and his mom and Gus's mom over. And this is where Sean, like right off the bat, as soon as they walk in the door, is pretty much saying, "I'm going to solve the case. Don't worry. We're going to get your dad out."
Yeah, and it did definitely. He did seize the opportunity. She was like in duress and worried and scared,
Hmm.
and he came in. He's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I got you. I
Yeah.
got you, fam. I got
Yeah.
you. Channeling Garrett.
I got
um.
you. And Garrett is my son, by the way. And he went through a long period of saying, "I got you, fam."
Hmm. And we make fun of
It's,
him for it
yeah. Yeah.
because we're the old
Still.
people making fun of the
Yeah.
the kids. God.
Still, we do. We do.
Mm.
We say things to him like, "That's so lit."
Mhm, yeah.
Do what you gotta do as a parent.
Fire.
That's fire. Peep the fit, that was my favorite.
Oh, peep the fit.
Peep the
Oh,
fit.
God,
I
Karen is so
can't.
ridiculous.
You
Peep
guys
the
are really
fit is
getting some
fire.
insight. I just can't. I can't. Okay.
See, sometimes I do miss, living with you guys in the past. Like,
I know
oh God,
that there were some golden moments for sure. Garrett always provided a lot of comic relief.
yeah, Garrett's insane. Just some of the crazy things that he says.
Love that kid.
But yes, back on topic
Mhm.
again.
Yeah.
Um, so Sean and Gus are
No.
telling their mom,
Oh.
Winifred, that she is going to be okay and they're going to figure this out. And when he says this, Henry is standing there next to him and he says, brings him into the kitchen to help him with the food. And when he's in there, they are like whispering to each other. And Henry is like, how are you like you've already made your decision on how this case is going to go, like you've already compromised the case, you're too close to this, you shouldn't be working on this.
Mhm.
And that leads to some interesting dialogue with them that that it was really good. It
Yeah.
seemed really real and fresh, and I liked it. It's so the sincerity, like the chemistry that they have as like father and son, I think is so great, and it seems so
Mhm.
sincere with these talks. And
It
Henry,
seems very real. It's realistic the way that
yeah,
they do it. I
yeah,
mean, bravo to both of them.
hmm but yeah, Henry is like, it's that lame ass thinking. I can see why you were never a detective, and Sean immediately, and I can see why you ended up a divorced detective. And then there's a
Ooh.
small pause where they both kind of calm down for like a second. And then it's like, we went almost 3 hours without fighting. And Henry's like, I think it's a new record. And they get back to, like, we still
Talking
love
about
each
the
other. It's
food.
okay. It's okay.
But you know what?
But,
You missed something in there when they went to the fridge, Matt.
something important.
And there's something important. 15
Hmm.
minutes, 23 seconds. there's the pineapple sitting in Henry's fridge. And then Sean actually picks it up and takes it out.
Well, he does a double take. Henry
Yeah.
grabs a bunch of, like, the leftovers and, like, pulls
Mhm.
them out, and Sean goes to close the fridge, and then he goes back and he's like, "Wait, yeah, grab this. Mm,
Oh, and did you
we're
catch
about to
where
hit the
that
road."
he made a comment too, Henry did, um about the dinner? He said something about they're the type of people that invite you over for dinner at 6 o'clock and don't feed you till 6:30 or something. Like
Oh, yeah.
he's still bitter. He's still bitter, even though there was like an
It's
arrest. It
not
was like a
even that
whole
long.
thing, but he is bitter about the food. I don't know.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, I feel
16
that.
minutes, 16 minutes, 20 seconds. We're going to try and stay on topic now, guys.
Mhm. Yeah.
Lassie shows up at Jules' house again. This time he wasn't really invited. He just shows up there. And this time the person that's not happy is Jules. She sort of doesn't want to tell him. Like she's like, "Oh, we just sat down to lunch and, and then the kids come running up and Carlton hands them a box and it has a "we" in it. My favorite thing is that the "we" was evidence from a sweep of someone's house that they did, and he says, "It should be with the DA, but they're gonna have to give it back after they use it."
Yeah, like, technically, it belongs to the DA, but they can use it for a little bit.
Lassie has no idea how to interact with anyone.
Yeah,
You
like,
do
what's
not do
appropriate?
that. You just don't do that. Here, God, that just this
Mhm.
is evidence.
Yeah.
I just can't. Anyway. Oh, he ends up going in and,
Also
like,
awkward.
annihilating the kids at the games, annihilating them, boxing and stuff like that. These poor kids are not having a good time. One of them said, "Lame-o."
Later, lame yeah, no, awkward, yeah, it's awkward
Yeah,
and uncomfortable the whole time.
yeah.
Mhm.
You're kinda turning me on that, like, I'm starting to feel that.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, every single scene he's in is super uncomfortable throughout the whole episode.
Yeah. He's poor
But no,
Lassie.
we do also get to see one of like, Henry called up Sean, and he's like, "Is it bullets? Like, rubber bullets?" And Sean's like, "No, Dad, it's not an engraved set of rubber bullets. Why would I ever give you an excuse to shoot a gun again?" I love that, that was great. An engraved set of rubber bullets, that's such a Henry thing. Mm,
Mhm. In this scene right after the phone call, we also see Sean kinda looking, and he's noticing the outside of Mr. Fuller's house. And he wants to know then, is there a homeowners association here? Because, like,
yeah, his
Mr.
house
Fuller's
looks like
house
crap.
was like, oh, yeah, it was not taken care of well. And so they go to another neighbor, Mr. Mitchell, and there they learn that Mr. Mitchell is the person who started the homeowners association and that Mr. Fuller was like a thorn in his side. But at the same time, he was pretty happy about there being a homeowners association. It's sort of like by the looks of his house, it applied to everyone else but him.
Right.
Miss Mitchell also walks in at that point, and she remembers Sean and Gus from years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, they remember her, they did some work for her when they were kids.
She paid them $5 years ago to mow the grass, and now she wants them to do it. But it was helpful. It ended up being helpful.
Well, this scene is the start of Gus and his speedy or wanting to speedily solve the case, as I mentioned in the synopsis.
Yeah.
So from here on out, every time they suspect somebody or they question somebody, or even in this episode when Sean is like feels like something's here and he's like looking for clues, Sean is just on him like, "Oh, is this it? Is this the person? Oh, we should call
Mhm.
Lester, get him down here, get him arrested." Like, you gotta do this because he wants to get his dad out of jail.
Yeah.
And it starts with the Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah.
They think that or Gus thinks it's him, and Sean is like, "It's not him. Just calm
He's
down,
not
calm down."
convinced. No. Well,
And
they do. Go ahead.
well, while they're there, they do see next door at Mr. Mitchell's house, and they see somebody in the house. So they go over
In
and
Mr. Fuller's house, you mean?
Mr.
Yeah.
Fuller's heart, sorry,
Yeah.
and they do a little bit of investigating.
Mhm.
And when they go up to the door, the woman comes out, and Sean can see from her clipboard that she has like plans for the house.
Mhm.
and he goes with the cover of them being landscapers, and we get our Gus nickname of the episode, and he's like, "This is my partner, Scooney U-turn Singleton." And
Mhm.
then Gus does this little symbol with like the lines that come down to make a U in the center, like U-turn. I love it when they have that, just like they're just so in sync. Oh, love that.
Mhm.
Because that was literally on the spot. I mean, it's a scripted show, but whatever. The characters, like it was on the spot that Sean saw that they were landscaper, that she was like most likely working with a
Right, and Gus just
landscaper.
rolled with it. He just
Exactly.
rolled with it, yeah. Well, they find out also in this scene, though, some very useful information. They find
Hmm.
out that, Mr. Fuller's property, you could see 360 degrees around it. This was a great vantage point for the neighborhood, so that's useful information.
One thing that was weird here, and I actually am very curious. I didn't have time to look too deep into it, but when the guys leave on this scene, so after they talk to the realtor and get this information about the value of the house, they leave. They go down the steps and like start walking out to their car, but you can see it's raining, like very lightly, almost like a mist. It's raining, and all the rock on the ground and on this like the river rock next to them, like the columns next to them, are all wet and like reflective, but they're not getting wet and there's no rain on them. Very weird. I'm very curious
I did
because they
not
weren't
notice that.
on like a green screen. So I'm very curious as to how this works. Like, did they have like a cover above them or something? Like, I don't know, but yeah, no, it's definitely raining in that scene, and it's
I don't
about
know how
20
they could
minutes
have
and
a
50
cover
seconds in.
above them with lighting and stuff like that, I don't know.
I mean, if they had some sort of crane or something like they do with the cameras that make it like move, like maybe it's moving over top of them, keeping them from getting wet, and they just like an impromptu thing, like it started raining that day. I
Well,
don't know,
I
but
just I don't know, I did
it
not
was
notice
raining.
that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was raining. I don't get it though.
I don't know.
Gus now wants it to be the realtor as the person who killed him so that they could get the house listing. But again, like how much are they actually going to get paid for, listing this house as like a realtor?
Well, it's really just more like the land and somebody could I mean, you're talking
Yeah,
about
but they only get
California.
like a 6%
Calif
commission.
California, Matt.
But what is that, like $20,000? Like, you're really gonna kill somebody over $20,000?
Well, you Gus just wanted it to be someone.
At this part, Jules and Lassie show up, and the guys ask for an update on a tip that they gave them about the realtor. And Juliet ends up telling them that they did do some digging and they did see regular calls from somebody, which made them check the number and the owner of that number against the financial statements, and they also saw money coming from that same person on a regular basis, which indicated a form of blackmail. And then they're like, "That's great, let's go arrest her." And she's like, "It's not the realtor though. Your tip kind of just pointed us in the right direction." And they're like, "Who was it?" And then we see Lassie coming down the steps from Gus's house with now his mom in handcuffs. And this kind of
Yeah,
calls back to what I was saying before about whenever you don't really see it at first. Like it's actually kind of clever how they did that. But if you rewind it and watch it again, you do see Lassie like walking up kind of subtly, covering his face so the guys don't see him, and Jules coming up towards the guys being the distraction. And she actually walks to the other side of them, so they're not even facing Gus's house. So they really did plan it out. I liked how they did that. I thought that was kind of cool. We then are back at the police station. It's 25 minutes, and Winifred is telling Gus that she called his nana, and she's to look after him if they are in jail, which is
N Nana's in a nursing home.
yeah.
She's gonna
Nana's
do a
she's
lot
a
to watch
very
him.
old woman, and Gus
Yeah.
is like 30.
Mhm.
Probably Gus is older than that, I think. But Winifred apparently caused their house or their boat to catch fire, and she was kind of nervous about saying something, and she waited too long. And by the time she had the courage to actually say something, the insurance company already paid it off, and Fuller knew about it, so he was threatening her and blackmailing her. So
Yeah. Well,
essentially,
I
that's why she was giving them money every month.
I really like this scene though because this scene is where Gus sort of tells his parents to stop babying him. He stands
Mhm.
up for himself.
Yeah.
He tells them I love the line where he said, "I'm the only person in this room. I'm the person in this room that doesn't have a criminal record at all. Like I've never been arrested. I'm never, like he's telling them I'm the most responsible person here. I have got 401ks. I have got, investments. I have all of this and I'm going to take care of you guys. I've got money. I've got all of this." And he really stands up for himself. I was
Yeah.
really happy to see
And
that because the
then
whole episode they're kind of berating him about everything and his choices. And his dad actually gets up and like shakes his hand and all of that. And
but Gus doesn't know how to handle that.
he doesn't, but it's
It looks
nice
like he's
to
about to
see.
cry whenever his dad just accepts it and shakes his
Yeah.
hand.
Well, it was a good scene though. And after they walk out of the interrogation room with Gus's family, Sean says, "You know what? I don't think that your mom was the only one that Fuller was blackmailing." And this is where we go back to the whole 360 degrees of the neighborhood. So now they have to go back to Fuller's house. They're looking through his house. They find a bunch of sticky notes everywhere, things like lock the door and that sort of thing. Like he needs reminder
Reminders.
notes. He
Mhm.
was not all there. They also find a telescope and some loose floorboards. And under the floorboards are
Well,
binoculars.
hold on before we open
Uh-huh.
it. When they find the loose floorboard, uh, they have a little thing here where whenever Gus reaches down to like pry up the loose floorboard, Gus
Uh-huh.
is like, or I'm sorry, Sean is like, doo-doom, 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 making the heartbeat
No, I
sound,
liked the Norman better, like rocking the
and
chair. Norman.
that's a reference to the Telltale Heart Edgar Allan Poe story
Mhm,
of like going underneath the floorboards and hearing the heart beat and keeping him up,
mhm.
and that apparently really freaks out Gus. And whenever he started doing that to Gus, Gus reached over to the rocking chair and like
Mhm.
pushed on it to make it squeak, and he started squeaking the
Norman,
rocking chair,
Norman.
Norman, Norman, and that's a call out to Psych. Oh,
Okay, so under these floorboards, they find also a camera, a bunch of photos of the neighborhood. And as they go looking through the photos, there are some random things. They find like, somebody selling bootleg DVDs and somebody with a pot farm. And then or somebody who's growing pot. And then they find somebody that was having an affair. So they
mhm.
figure out whose window it is and decide, let's go talk to this person.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I just really love that scene. Like they know each other so well, and at the
Yeah.
end, whenever like Sean almost did it again, he's like, Gus was like, "Don't play, Sean."
Hmm. Well, they go to this guy's house and tell him they have some questions, and he just runs. Okay, let me just ask you here. Were you loving as much as I was the way that Gus was running in this scene?
Oh yeah, yeah, he was running in the Olympics in this scene,
It
and Gus,
reminded me of how Tom Cruise runs.
really?
Yes,
I
have you
thought he
ever
was just
noticed
running
how
in
Tom Cruise
perfect form.
he was, but that's like Tom Cruise is really fast and he runs like that with his arms. Like I that's what it reminded me of. Like, go little Dule. He was running.
Hmm. But outrunning Sean,
Yeah.
and Sean ended up taking a shortcut and swinging from a treehouse across the fence
From a
of the
rope. Yep.
backyard and like kicking the suspect that they were chasing.
Mhm.
Although I also got to point out poor stunt double stuff. That was
Oh.
not a very good kick. First of all, the jump cut, and it was a very slow kick. Like I probably could have made that, you know, in my backyard very easily. So, eh, not the greatest stunt work there. When they catch the
Yeah.
guy and they talk to
Wait,
him,
wait, wait. Can I also say how cute was it that they had Jingle Bells playing
oh
while they're
yeah,
running? Like that was great. It was so Christmassy. I loved it.
whenever they do catch the guy, they start asking him questions, and they find out quickly that this is not the guy in the photos. The guy says that that actually looks like his dad, and that that was not his mom that was in the picture with them. Their mom died before they moved here, so that lets them know that the person who's being blackmailed is not the man, but it's the woman in the photo. So they then have to
Mhm.
figure out who this woman is. And
But
this
they
guy was
have
a
a
young
good
kid.
clue,
Well,
though.
this guy was a kid and he didn't actually remember a name, and his dad never actually introduced her to him. But
Mhm.
he did remember the smell of, what is it, white linen
White linen, yes.
perfume.
Very popular perfume. And now if we go back a little ways, see, because this is all starting to, I don't know. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later because
Hmm.
something that they already had to do earlier was a great indication for them
Right.
of
They just
who
don't know about it yet.
really did it. They just don't know yet. So, yeah, so they find out about the white linen. And now we're back at the station, 32 minutes, 20 seconds in. And Lassie has approached Jules now that he wants to go to Christmas dinner. She tries so hard to tell him that they don't want him there, and he thinks it's because they like him more than her. Like, he's not taking it like, Lassie, you were kind of a jerk every time you've been there. I'm not inviting you to this. Nobody wants you there. He's like, I get it. It happens. I'm cooler than you. The kids like me more than you.
You don't know how to handle that. You know?
It was awful.
Hmm.
All right, we leave there, we go to the Guster's house, and they are smelling jerk chicken. I loved this scene so much because we find out how Gus got the super smeller.
The
Because
origin of the
y
super smeller.
yes,
Super
well,
sniffer or super smeller?
yeah, well, we're watching him smell this jerk chicken. He identifies part of it. Then his dad does. Then his mom does. And then Sean gets the idea. He's like, wait a minute, if you can smell this, you could smell what smells like white linen. And he looks down and sees that there is a, like an estate sale going to happen at Mr. Fuller's house.
All
And
the
all
people in
the
the
neighbors,
neighborhood will be there.
yeah, everyone's going to be
Mhm.
there. So we need to see if Gus can identify that perfume at the estate sale.
Yep.
Yep. So they're at the auction. They go to it. I do like, though, how before they go in, Sean has called Jules and said, come on, because he was confident that at that point they were going to find her. They're in the auction, and Gus is starting to smell everyone. And it's funny how he does it because he keeps popping up as the auctioneer says stuff. So he's bidding on things and doesn't realize it. And he wins the bid. He's paying $500 for an antique Confederate flag. Maybe the worst thing that he would ever want. And
Mhm.
Sean says, "You can totally get a gun rack for the back of your truck now." It was it was
How he
terrible.
says it though, it's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
It's like, "Sweet, dude. Now you can totally get a gun rack for the back of your truck." Like
Yep. It
like
was
he'll
funny. And the
I don't know,
people were
it
so
was just
off
funny
put.
though.
The
I
people were so
hated
off
the
put by
auctioneer
how he
though.
was smelling things, though.
Oh,
Like
because
how
he was
like these
super obnoxious. It was
these women
super
were like, "What are you
weird.
doing?"
Yeah, he would start
Yeah.
down at their, like, shoulder and then, like, sniff up past their head in
It was
multiple
weird.
sniffs and, like, flare out his nostrils. Yeah,
It
it
was
was super
weird.
obnoxious,
He wasn't
but,
getting much, though, until Miss Mitchell's hand went up. And then
I
Sean knew what
hated
happened.
the auctioneer guy.
I don't
Just him talking, I don't know, maybe it's because he sold Gus a stupid flag, like, he was counting that. First of all, why would the same
yeah.
person be upping their own price when nobody else is doing it?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
hated that guy so much.
Well, he clearly wasn't good at his job because, I mean, Gus was definitely he wasn't even looking at him.
Yeah,
Gus wasn't even looking at him. So, I mean, it was
yeah,
just that was yeah. Anyway.
mhm. But, oh, wait.
So Sean sees Miss Mitchell's hand go up, and all of a sudden it clicks with her when he and Gus had to go out there and redo the lawn for the $5 she paid them years ago. And she tells them, be sure to water the gardenias because I've had those longer than you guys have been alive. And he sees her gardening fingernails, and he's like, okay. So that's when he starts the whole summary. Matt, go for it.
So we're at 36 minutes, 45 seconds. Gus identifies the gardenia in the perfume, and Sean knows that the HOA's wife has the gardenias in their backyard. And she specifically says while they were doing yard work, that the gardenias have been around there longer than they've been alive. So we do know that she had them back then, and that could be why she has that smell, if she's always around them.
Mhm.
He thinks he knows what's happened, and he goes for it during the auction. Gladys Mitchell had an affair 30 years ago, and um, Mr. Fuller blackmailed her. She had to take care of him, and she assumed that he would have died soon because he was old. But for whatever reason, this guy just wouldn't die. I did like how he said it's almost like his anger was keeping him
Keeping
alive.
him alive? Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, he just wouldn't die,
Mhm.
and it just got to the point where she just couldn't do it anymore because he was starting to go, senile from the notes that we
Mhm.
saw was evidence of that, and at some point, she was worried that he was just going to say it by accident or tell somebody, and it was going to destroy her life even though she's been working for him essentially for years.
Mhm.
And she tried to poison him, but he spit it up. She hit him with the hammer, but he still wouldn't die, like he was still twitching. And she used the chairlift. She essentially, put
She sort
affixed the
of
rope
rigged
to
him
him,
up. Yeah.
threw the rope over the banister, and wrapped the banister around the chairlift. And when the chairlift went down the stairs, it would pull the rope and hang Mr. Fuller.
Mhm.
Uh,
At what Sean
yeah.
called an agonizingly slow pace. Is the chairlift. Gus was in the chairlift, and it was so slow going up the stairs.
Yes, it was. I that was a good one.
It
Hmm.
was good.
But
Yeah. So, yeah, he solved it.
mhm.
And that's when Lassie did say, "Hey, you can, we
You
can."
can tell your parents that we'll be dropping the charges. Yeah.
Yes.
So we now get to see what happened with Henry and Sean in their gift guessing game that they do every year. Sean opens up his and reveals monogrammed Psych golf balls that also come with a voucher for lessons at the local course.
Mhm.
Henry opens up his, and instead of it being a gift, it's a letter stating what Henry got Sean. And Sean is dancing while he reads it, and because he's so excited that he's showing his dad up. And then after he reads it, he tells him, flip it over," and it says, "P.S. I think his name is Pierre," to really put in the nail, to drive the nail into the coffin.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I got you, old man."
It's not even right, but he does give his dad a real gift, and he's like, to continue
It
the
was
snow globe
awesome.
theme, he gives his dad a snow globe of him
Mhm.
fishing in the snow, which was so cute.
It's
And
guts.
now I'm wondering if if Corbin Bernsen still has that snow globe from this
He
episode.
has to have it. He
Well, I
has to.
would hope so. I mean,
But
come on.
I thought it was funny how Gus was kind of just there talking. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, that's me. That's me fishing." And Gus is like, "In the snow, fishing in the
Yeah.
snow." I
Which
really
I
enjoyed that. I
do
love
think
that.
Henry would do. I
Hmm.
do. But I've gotta know now. I really wanna know if he has this. Dude, we have to interview Corbin Bernsen because we need to ask this question.
That's a good one. That is a good
Yeah.
one.
This question must be asked. It must be. Well, that's pretty much the end of the episode, though. Gus's parents congratulate him on his good decisions professionally, financially, all that stuff. They finally kind of admit that they're proud of him. But then after he walks away, they pay Sean to look after him. So clearly they have not
And
really.
Sean shakes him down.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, "Do you think that's enough?" I mean, and they give him more. It's like, seriously, you. I don't know. I don't know. They need to believe in Gus more. Gus is the one that's got it together. I don't know. It was a pretty good episode, though. Okay, so Matt, let's talk about your general thoughts of this episode and how many pineapples do you give it?
This was so hard. Um,
Okay, I'm
I
with
was
you.
so torn, and I was really trying to think of our pineapples grading scale and what each pineapple signifies, and I was torn between 3 and 4 because I've given out lots of, 4s and 5s this season comparatively to season 1, and I didn't want
Because it's
to be
better.
boom, 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 like 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, 4, 4. I didn't want it to be
What?
just consistently
But
4 because
it's
then you're just
not.
giving them away.
You've given 1s and 2s this season too. It's okay if there's a season with a lot of good episodes in it, Matt. It's
Yes,
okay.
but they all can't be on the same tier because remember our scale. Our scale
Okay,
for
but
4
alright, no,
is
no, no,
this
I'm gonna
episode is on
challenge
my
you here.
list of favorites. So what I have to ask is this episode on my list of favorites? Or is it just a
Okay,
good episode all around?
but let's look at it another way. If I am taking out the disc collection of Psych, what season am I gonna pull because it has, like, my most favorite episodes in it? A lot of them. If I'm putting on a disc that's gonna be one episode right after the other,
It
which
could be,
one am
but
I
what
gonna
about a
pull out?
custom list? What if you're just scrolling through and you're just like, "Oh, that one, that one, that one," just quickly looking for titles that jump out that you remember that are on your list of favorites, and you're making a custom Psych
Alright,
playlist of
no, I hear
episodes.
you, but I don't know. I don't know. So what did you land on? Did you land on 3 or 4? What did you land on?
I also
'Cause
have to
for
ask,
me
with our list, hold on, with our ratings, do we factor in any thematical biases, such as it being a Christmas episode? Because that gives me the
it's
feels immediately that
you
immediately gets a little bonus points.
absolutely, you can factor that in. You can factor whatever you want in.
If you think it's fair to factor in bonus like points or like to factor in the feel good from it being a Christmas themed episode,
Mhm.
then I think I gotta go with 4. I think I gotta go with 4 pineapples. I love that we got backstory on, or we
Mhm.
got like background information on Gus's family. I thought it
Mhm.
was really funny seeing the way that they treated him and that he had a little arc where he gets to see them again at the end and kind of like get some growth from them.
Yeah.
I loved the actors they got, the guest stars that they got for his parents. It felt so great. And we got a bunch of Henry and Sean moments were good in this one.
Mhm.
Like it just all
They
worked. I mean, the
hugged
stuff
they
we got
hugged in the
Juliet.
end. Wait, wait,
Yep,
wait, first, they hugged
yep.
in the end. Sean and Henry hugged each other after exchanging gifts.
And we got
That was
traditions
big.
from them. Yeah, we got to
Yes,
see them doing like their Christmas thing.
it was
We got
big.
Juliet's family, although her family drastically changes in the future, but we still got
Mhm.
to see some of Juliet's like home life. There's just so much happening in this episode. I really liked
Yeah.
it. And I think yeah, I'm gonna go with 4 pineapples.
Alright. So, in a scary fashion here, I'm gonna agree and give it 4.
Oh
I
my
liked
gosh,
all
what
of
is
those
happening?
elements. I don't know. I liked all those elements. I loved that it was a Christmas episode. I really like, there's a lot about it that I liked. The one thing I didn't like was, the Lassiter aspect
Mhm.
and the Julia it felt like Jules and Lassie were sort of back burner. There wasn't a lot of working together on the case. That's the only way that I think that they could have improved this is if there were more discussions between Sean and Gus and Lassie and Jules about the case, like really working on it together. I feel like it was very separate. That's the only thing.
Yeah, we don't really even
But
see Juliet and Lester working the case aside from
right.
arresting the parents.
Exactly. Only
So,
when Sean calls them to the thing, and they would have definitely been working it.
mhm.
So I feel like there was a little that was like a little bit lax there. Um and there was somewhere I I had a continuity error somewhere in there, but I didn't I don't
It
remember
was
what it was.
about the perfume bottle at the auction.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like where did Sean like they went directly from his mom's house, from Gus's mom's house to the auction. Where
Mhm,
did
and he's
he
like,
get this
"Identify that scent." Yeah,
fancy perfume, what, air oh my gosh, what is it called?
squeezy thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, logically, where would he have gotten a bottle like that, that someone would have had to pour a perfume in? Like, and that was a very specific it wasn't like a bottle they got from the store of white linen. It
Mhm.
was a specific kind of bottle, and, like, I that was continuity for me. So, there was a couple of little issues, but overall, I really liked the episode, and so I gave it 4 as well. So, do you think it holds up over time?
For the most part, yes. Um, For some reason, the thing with Juliet's family always felt like it was really old to me. Maybe it was because like the decor in the house or something, and
Mhm.
the I guess like the Wii 2 was also kind of like an older thing, like an older game console. But
Yeah.
and they were talking about it like it was like a new thing. So I mean that kind of did date it a little bit. Something maybe it was the decoration in the house or something, or what all the family members were wearing. It looked like
Mhm.
older style clothes. But it did stand out as an older episode to me from that. But I mean, I think the episode was good as like a holiday
Mhm.
episode. Like I
Yeah,
could
I do
totally
too.
see like an updated version of this being done. The chairlift was a really interesting way to like have
Mhm.
the way that they killed him and disguised it as a suicide. Like that was interesting.
Mhm.
I liked it. I thought it was good. I
Yeah.
think it held up pretty well over time, with the exception of a few tech things like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do recognize, like, the TV guide thing and stuff like that, like, that I mean, they still do make a TV guide, but nobody uses it. Use the guide on your TV. I mean, it's like, there are things like that that dated a little bit, but it's, overall, I think was and, maybe some of the camera equipment and things like that that they found, but I try to recognize that it was an old man's house, so he
Oh yeah,
wouldn't have
I
had the
assumed that
newest
that was
bit
just
stuff.
his old
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, but otherwise it was good. Henry lessons? The only thing I
Yes.
got was don't get involved in a case if you have an emotional attachment to it. Did you have one? Did you?
Well, yeah, like you've already made up your decision, regardless of the facts. You've already compromised this case. So,
Mhm.
yeah, same thing. Getting involved in a case that you have already decided the answer on without even like looking at the evidence.
Mhm.
Hmm.
We've identified the pineapple in Henry's fridge and the silly nickname, Scooty U-turn
Scooney U-turn
Singleton.
Singleton.
I
Mm.
forgot about that one. That's another one I forgot about.
I I use the Gus nicknames for like if I whenever I do like D&D characters. I use the Gus nicknames all the time for my characters. I yep.
That's awesome.
My current one of my the current character that I play with is Satchel Gizmo. I yep, I love it. It's just it's like it's an inventor, and it just
Uh-huh.
sounded like an inventor name. Satchel Gizmo goes by
Satchel
Satch.
Gizmo.
Hmm.
I like that.
I've had several of them.
Do
Ovaltine
you
Jenkins,
Oh,
Galileo
Ovaltine
Humpkins.
Jenkins is
I've
classic.
had several. It's always fun for me.
I like it. Do you have a favorite quote from this episode?
I all right. So I have one that's kind of just like silly,
Okay.
and it's Lassie, who keeps telling people I want snow globes for Christmas, and him like freaking out and having a panic attack. So it's like a silly favorite quote, but I
That's
didn't have
funny.
like a serious one or anything like that.
Actually didn't have one from this episode. I just found myself when I was watching this episode in particular, many times during this episode, I almost didn't even want to stop and make notes. I just kind of wanted to keep watching it.
Hmm. No, I get that.
Like
It's a
I
feel good episode because of Christmas.
Yeah, like it did feel good.
As a refresher, Come On Sun moments are something we all didn't love that happened this episode.
Them arresting Gus's dad so quickly. I felt like it was fast that they arrested him. It was like, "We have this circumstantial evidence, you're arrested." Like, it was too fast.
Well, hold on. They did have motive as well.
Mm.
They're neighbors. They hated each other. He already admitted that they were stealing each other's tools. They like the stuff that he had. Like he had the same poison that was used to kill him. It was his hammer that was used to like hit
But
him.
okay, but it was weed killer. It wasn't I mean, anyone could have weed killer.
Yeah, but if you find a bag of the same stuff that was used in your,
I
the
don't know.
garage
I
next
guess I
door,
just felt like if it was Gus's
if
dad,
it
maybe it would
was
have been a situation where they'd have gone, "Just don't leave, don't go anywhere.
okay.
Realize that something's going on. We're gonna interview you, but don't go anywhere."
Yeah, I guess I could see why that would be one. For me, something we didn't love. I don't know. I guess maybe the Lassiter thing,
The
like with the way that
cringiness,
he was super weird.
cringy.
Yeah, I don't know if it was quite cringy. Just it was kind of awkward and uncomfortable throughout the whole episode. Just all the things
Okay.
that he was doing.
Okay,
What
what
about a
about
wait
wait
for it
for
moment?
it? Okay, a wait for it,
Something that happens that we are waiting to find out more about.
yeah, so for me, that was when it well, like so many times for me, it's when it hits Sean what happened, like, when her hand went up and he saw her hand at the auction, for me, that's it. It's like, okay, something he knows now. That's my wait for it.
I
What
think
about
for
you?
me, it's probably the Christmas gift with Henry and him at the end.
Oh, that's a good one.
Figuring out what they got each other. I was definitely curious as to like what the gifts were.
Well, I would have to make that an "oh, yeah."
Well, at the end, it's an all yeah.
Yeah.
In the beginning, though, it's a wait for it. Like
Okay,
when
well,
they do
okay.
first do the
So
exchange.
okay, no, I got you, I got you. Well, okay, so do you have an "oh, yeah"?
So an all yeah is something that happened we were excited about. So I don't know if it. I don't know. I don't know what you think about this one, but I really liked when in the scene with the pineapple when they had their little mini fight and then they immediately like made up.
Yeah,
Like
okay, no,
there
I
was like
get
a
that.
second between it, and I like
Yeah,
that. I like it when it seems like there's like this genuine relationship and they still love each other and
mhm,
I don't know, they just kind of know how each other are and they're okay with it.
yeah,
I liked it.
there's an ease to it. Yeah, I
Mhm.
get that. Alright, it is time for pop culture references, Matthew.
All right, so hang tight for the next 20 minutes, guys.
No, 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 there weren't that many in this one. There weren't that many in this one. I
No,
only have
I know, I know.
5. I literally only have 5. So, the first one is Pepe Le Pew. He is a cartoon character of a skunk that was introduced by Warner Brothers in 1945 for Looney Tunes cartoons. Still still being used today, and you can see him on lots of cartoons. Number 2, Felicia Rashad. She was best known for her role as Claire Huxtable on The Cosby Show that ran from 1984 to 1982. She went on later to star in another iteration of Cosby, where she once again played Bill Cosby's wife. That was on later in like 90s, early 2000s, that kind of time frame. She's done tons of other TV, most recently Empire for 2 seasons. She was also in 13 Reasons Why and This Is Us. She was in 3 episodes of Psych, so she played Gus's mom in 3 different episodes. Next is Ernie Hudson. He's also a actor with a really long list of credits. He has done so many things. You probably know him best though from the original Ghostbusters movies, Ghostbusters in 1984 and Ghostbusters 2 in 1989. He was also in St. Elsewhere, Oz, Miss Congeniality movies. He's done a ton of TV episodes, but he only played Gus's dad on this one episode. Later on, Gus's dad will be played by a different actor named Keith David. But I liked him as Gus's dad, so that's kind of disappointing that he didn't come back. And the number 4 that I have is the convertible LeBaron. This was originally introduced in 1931 by Chrysler and made a huge comeback in the 80s. The 82 to 88 was the second generation, and it was very boxy, but it was still a convertible. And the third generation is the one I remember the best. This is the car like everybody wanted for a long time. From 1987 to 1985 or 1995, it was made, and it was a really popular little convertible. You'd see them all over the place. My number 5 is Norman, which was the character in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho 1960 movie starring Anthony Perkins as Norman, and Janet Leigh was also in it. That's all I got. What do you have for pop culture references, Matt?
Well, I think you left out Edgar Allan Poe's A Telltale Heart,
I did.
Psycho, and
I know, I
A
got
Christmas
Psycho.
Story. You left all the movies out.
No, 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 I got Psycho. I just talked about that. It was number 5. Norman, the character in Alfred Hitchcock's
Well,
Psycho, a 1960
okay.
movie starring
Uh,
Anthony Perkins and
I was going for the movie.
yes.
You went for Norman.
Okay, but
Heath.
I was talking about the movie, a
I know.
1960 movie.
Um, but I'm in A Christmas Story and
Edgar Allan Poe. Those are the
Edgar
two
Allan Poe,
things I looked at.
Telltale Heart. Yep.
So tell us about the Christmas Story.
Oh, I wasn't gonna tell you about it. I was just letting you know that you missed it.
Okay, so you have no information about it. Well,
No
I can tell
solution,
you
just a
off
problem.
the top of my head. Let's just see. A Christmas Story. This was a movie, it's a classic Christmas movie,
I see
and
you Googling. Nothing off the top of your head.
if I'm gonna be really honest with you right now, I have never watched this entire movie.
What?
This I've never watched it all, and there is one network that literally plays it for 24 hours a day at Christmas every year, and I've never watched it. It was a movie done in 1983. It was about this little boy who wanted that Red Ryder BB gun. The IMDb description, and also there's a famous lamp from this movie. I do know this with the leg. It's the
Mhm.
leg lamp. Anyway, okay, so it's set in the 1940s. A young boy named Ralphie attempts to convince his parents, his teacher, and Santa that a Red Ryder BB gun really is the perfect Christmas gift. So it's all he wants. So yes, Gus or Sean and Gus giving McNabb that Red Ryder BB gun was definitely a nod to this movie. But yes, that was yeah, it was a big deal. It starred Peter Billingsley, Melinda Dillon, and Darren McGavin.
Mhm. Yeah.
So now
I'm
we
not a
know.
big fan of it. I've seen it a couple times. I'm not like a super fan or anything like that,
Isn't it the
but
one
it
where they get their
definitely is a
tongue stuck
Christmas
to the
spirit.
pole?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, he licks the bowl and it gets his tongue stuck. Yeah.
Okay. So
I think
do
his
they
name's
do the
Ralphie.
logical thing? Yeah,
Ralph.
do they Ralphie. Do they do the
No.
thing where they pour the warm water? Like they
No.
just
They pull his head off
oh
abruptly,
for l-
ripping the skin off his tongue. Yeah.
oh for crying out loud. That's not the best way to approach that. But okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I've never seen it. I've never seen it, which is surprising as much as I love Christmas movies. I've never watched that one.
Yeah. Mm.
I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe this year. I don't know. There's a lot
I
of
mean, you don't like Lord of the
good.
Rings either, so can we really take your opinion? No.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can take my opinion. Oh,
Holiday movie review time. Watch Lord of the Rings and see what happens. Yeah.
no.
Wow. Wow.
Not happening. Not
So
happening.
good.
I realize that this is probably a pretty controversial subject, by the way. Like
Yeah,
that
I
we're
think
going to have a
so.
lot of listeners that
You
feel very
versus the rest of the
strongly.
world.
Okay, so I need for anyone who agrees with me out there to please email us or comment somewhere so that I can prove to Matthew that I am not the only person out there that despises those movies. Like I
See, now
cannot
that's
bring
just
myself.
not fair because I can't tell everybody who loves Lord of the Rings to email in because we'll break our Google email server.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't do that. So that's really not fair that you're asking for help from your side. If I ask help
I
from
think
mine,
it's
it's going to
fair.
create a disaster. So,
Well, feel free to
mm,
comment however you like, but I know that I am not the only person out there that does not like those movies. I know that I'm not. And I'm sorry.
it's
Isn't
a
it
bit of
like a
an oh
was it Elijah Wood that was in them and Sean Astin and
yes.
Orlando Bloom and Liv Tyler? I'm sorry to all of those actors. I really recognize that these were big breaks in your careers, but no,
Well,
not for
also
me.
super popular movie, made tons of money, got tons of
Mhm.
views, was
Yeah.
has a prequel series made about it, a prequel
Look,
trilogy, which
we can't all like everything. I am also not a Star
I mean,
Wars
all
fan.
I'm
Sue
saying is
me.
2.9 billion in the box office, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm not a Star Wars fan either. People are not gonna like me after this episode. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But,
And at
tune
least
in
we
for
understand why
Hallmark.
though.
Wow. That was not nice, Matthew. Not
Oh,
nice
Lord of
at
the Rings
all.
is so much fun, so good.
Oh, no.
Mm.
Okay, on our next episode, we will be discussing season 2, episode 11. There's something about Mira.
I am looking forward to this one, I think. I
I
don't
am not.
remember it as much, but I think I liked it. I know that Mira is god awful, but I think that it was a good episode.
I
So
just can't
I'm
with
looking forward to
Mira.
it.
I can't
Make
with
sure you
Mira.
guys check out our Facebook group and our subreddit. The links will be below in the description. And we always like to post in there our polls for the episode. So you'll go in and you'll give your own pineapple rating for how you thought this episode of the show was. So let us know and see if it matches. Did you have 4 pineapples as well, like me and Barb?
We'll see. You can also email us at our Gmail address, thepsychpodcast@gmail.com. We love any comments or emails that you might send in. And who knows, maybe we'll read it on one of our future episodes. So we look forward to getting those mails from you guys. But thanks again for listening. And we're sorry we went off the rails a little bit this time, but hopefully you had a fun listening to it and will join us again next week. Have a great week, everyone.
Yep. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.